Ever wonder why the hottest people sometimes have the absolute worst credit scores? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the financial side of love. Think of me as your best friend stepping in for a little intervention, giving you all the relationship secrets you didn't even know you needed. We're going to look at exactly why our brains are hardwired to ignore massive financial red flags when we're falling head over heels, and more importantly, how to protect yourself. But real quick, before we go any further, make sure you tap that link in the description and grab the 12 questions that will tell you more about the financial future of your relationship than 5 years of dating ever will. Don't be one of the many couples that end up surprised by who they actually married. 12 questions are all you need to prevent a financially catastrophic marriage or partnership. And while you are there, please like and subscribe. It helps send the message out and benefits other couples. Look, let's just be totally honest for a second. We've all met someone and felt that thing. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? The butterflies, the ridiculous grinning at your phone, that crazy feeling that you might actually be losing your mind. And hey, that feeling is absolutely incredible. But here comes the intervention part. That intoxicating high is completely 100% blind to whether or not that person actually has a savings account. It literally doesn't care if they pay their bills on time. It doesn't care if they view a credit score as, just a polite suggestion. We have to separate that lovey-dovey romance from the cold, hard, spreadsheet-level reality of building a life together. Because feelings, as amazing as they are, definitely do not pay the bills. To really understand why we do this, we've got to look at the biology. When you're attracted to someone, your brain basically goes into a temporary state of overdrive. It's wild. Scientists have studied this extensively, and in those early stages of falling in love, your brain just floods with a crazy chemical cocktail: dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. It essentially creates this mental environment where, wow, everything is amazing and absolutely nothing can go wrong. It feels fantastic in the moment, kind of like eating an entire chocolate cake by yourself, but it definitely doesn't always lead to the greatest long-term decisions. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly how this brain flood works against you. It actively suppresses the parts of your brain responsible for critical thinking and judgment. This quote literally hits the nail on the head. The prefrontal cortex, the logical center that usually chimes in to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should think this through, literally goes quiet when you're infatuated. So when you meet someone who makes your heart race, your brain is essentially running a glitchy app. And that app just crashes every single time you try to open the financial red flags folder. Seriously, it's not an excuse, it's just your biology doing biology things. And adding to this biological glitch is something psychologists call the halo effect. Now, it sounds absolutely lovely, but it's actually a huge trap. The halo effect happens when we see someone who's really great in one area, and our brains just automatically assume they're great in totally unrelated areas, even with literally zero evidence. It acts just like a highly flattering Instagram filter. It's the reason we automatically assume that the charming, wildly attractive person we just met is also responsible, reliable, and definitely not swimming in $40,000 of hidden credit card debt. But spoiler alert, charm and financial literacy are completely unrelated. Someone can be super funny and thoughtful and still be an absolute financial disaster. The halo effect just prevents you from connecting those dots. We also have to forgive ourselves a little bit here, because we are basically wired to look for all the wrong things. Think about it. Our ancestors were definitely not evaluating mates based on credit scores or 401k matches. They were looking for physical health, social status, survival skills. Back then, confidence meant competence, humor meant intelligence and good problem solving, generosity was highly valued. But remember, historically speaking, being extremely generous and totally broke is a very common combination. The traits that signaled a great partner 100,000 years ago tell us absolutely zero about whether someone's going to pay their half of the rent on time today. We're essentially running ancient attraction software in a modern financial world, and man, that update is way overdue. Have you ever caught yourself saying, I know it doesn't make sense, but I just can't help how I feel? Yeah, that is the romantic override in action. It's that maddening ability of strong physical or emotional attraction to completely override what we logically know to be true. Your friends might point out the red flags. Your own bank account and spreadsheets might clearly show that the math of this relationship simply does not work out. Yet there's always that little voice saying, but what if it works out? And hey, validating those feelings is totally fine. It's a super normal human experience. But you've got to remember, feelings are not a plan. Attraction is not a financial strategy, and love is absolutely no substitute for a fully funded emergency fund. And this brings us to a really harsh, unavoidable reality. The number one reason couples fight, separate, and divorce is financial incompatibility. Research on long-term relationship satisfaction consistently backs this up time and time again. Money arguments are frequently a way stronger predictor of divorce than arguments about chores, how to raise the kids, or even infidelity. So sure, attraction might get you through the front door, but financial reality is what actually determines whether you get to stay in the house. To make matters worse, the very timeline of dating actively hides financial reality from us. Just think about it. On date 1, everyone is putting their best foot forward. By date 3, you're experiencing all their fun and charm. But nobody, and I mean nobody, is pulling out their bank statements over appetizers. You learn all about their humor, their quirky family dynamics, and their personality long before you learn anything real about their finances. By the time the natural timeline of dating finally allows for real financial disclosure, revealing that they're living paycheck to paycheck or sitting on a mountain of student loans, you are already deeply emotionally attached. Love makes it incredibly hard to walk away, even when the math clearly says you should. Okay, let's dive into this, because this is where the deception really happens. Lifestyle signaling versus actual wealth. When you see someone who's always picking up the tab, driving a fancy car, and taking all these amazing vacations, they look incredibly financially stable. But a lot of the time, this is just signaling. The uncomfortable truth is that a ton of that so-called wealth is funded purely by debt. Those fancy dinners might just be a growing balance on a credit card that's only getting minimum payments. That gorgeous car might be eating up their entire monthly income. When you're attracted to someone, you're just enjoying the fun. You're not running a background check. But please do not confuse someone who is merely auditioning for a lifestyle they can't afford with someone who has actual wealth, solid savings, and real security. Once that emotional connection is locked in, our brains do something very kind but honestly very foolish. We start making emotional excuses. You notice their card declines, or they're always visibly stressed out about money, and what do you tell yourself? Oh, they're just going through a rough patch, or it's been a really hard year, or it's just temporary. Now, sometimes that's absolutely true. People do have hard times, but our emotional investment makes us totally blind to the difference between a genuinely temporary situation and a deeply ingrained long-term pattern of financial irresponsibility. We just explain it away because deep down we really don't want to threaten the relationship. This brings us to a massive distinction you need to start making: financial status versus financial values. Financial status is simply how much money someone happens to have right now. Financial values, on the other hand, are how they think about and behave with that money. A person can have very little money but have excellent financial values. They live within their means, they're totally honest, and they actually have a plan. That person, they make a fantastic partner. On the flip side, someone can earn a massive income but have terrible values, spending impulsively and just completely ignoring stress. Attraction gets drawn to the shiny status markers for sure, but values are what you actually have to live with every single day. A partner with a modest income and great values is going to build a beautiful future with you. A high earner with poor values is just going to drain you. So the crucial point is, what do we actually do about all this? Well, here is your actionable 4-step game plan. Step 1. Talk about money way earlier than is comfortable. You don't need to bust out a spreadsheet on date 2, but really pay attention to how they talk about their job and their goals. Step 2, watch for patterns, not just incidents. 1 rough month is an incident. 6 months is a pattern. Step 3, and this one is absolutely huge. Observe how they handle financial stress. Do they face it head on, or do they shut down and get angry? How they handle money stress is exactly how they're going to handle life stress. And finally, step 4. Know your own non-negotiables before you get deeply involved. Ultimately, you must have the big conversations before you make the big commitments. Before you move in together, before you even think about merging your bank accounts, and certainly before you get engaged, you have to talk about debt, talk about credit scores, and talk about savings. It might feel incredibly awkward and so unromantic in the moment, but let me promise you this right now. An awkward conversation on a random Tuesday night is vastly cheaper and way less painful than a messy divorce 5 years down the line. So before we wrap up today, make sure you tap that link in the description and grab the 12 questions that will tell you more about the financial future of your relationship than 5 years of dating ever will. Don't be one of the many couples that end up surprised by who they actually married. 12 questions are all you need to prevent a financially catastrophic marriage or partnership. And while you are there, please like and subscribe. It helps send the message out and benefits other couples. Attraction is incredibly powerful. It's a little irrational. And you know what? That is exactly what makes it so fun and exciting. You absolutely deserve a love story, and your heart is completely allowed to flutter. But remember, a beautiful love story and a stable financial future are not mutually exclusive. You just have to be willing to look at the math. So I'll leave you with this question to ask yourself today. Your heart is allowed to flutter, but are you brave enough to keep your eyes open to the numbers? Start having those conversations today and build a partnership that is truly secure. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.